Okay, good day to everyone. We're on page 65. We're coming towards the end of the Maamar Yechayeinu Miyomayim of 1941. Okay, so in the last paragraph, paragraph 4 on page 65, the Frierdiker Rebbe, the author, asked a very straightforward question, and it's not difficult to understand the question. The question that he asked is, we've been learning this Maamar that in order to accomplish Techiyas HaMeisim, both begashmius and more importantly to us, beruchnius, to revive the spiritual deadness in our life, it requires what we call rachamim rabim, an abundant mercy. And he discussed this at great length with examples of Shalom, welcome back. Particular details. So, and the Rebbe says that the only way to do that is to tap into what's called Atzmos Ein Sof Baruch Hu, the essence of the infinite God, or in short, in Chabad Hasidus lingo, it's called Atzmos. Atzmos means the essence. By the way, before I forget, this book that I wrote about 5 years ago, called Lubavitch Speak, is a dictionary of Chabad Lubavitch Hasidism. The words and usage, colloquialisms, expressions in the Chabad world. So if anyone is interested in knowing more the verbiage used in the Chabad world, this was a good reference book. Anyway, so the word used in the Chabad world for...
Where can we get it here in Israel?
You can't. You have to get... I send it to you, or I bring it, or... it's not in Israel, it's here. I mean, there's some... Okay, let's go further. So, only Atzmos can revive the dead. This is what we've been learning. So the Rebbe asks a question in this chapter 4, the paragraph. Atzmos is transcendental. We are limited. How can we as limited beings access the transcendental? Take an example. You can only jump as high as your feet allow you to jump. Can you jump over your own head? No. Why? Because as you jump, your head jumps too. So you can never jump over your own head. So then you can't jump over your own feet. The point being that a finite being can only do as much as the finite being has within its being finite. So if that's the case, how can we say that we finite beings can access Rachamecha Horabim, which is the experience of Atzmos, which is transcendental, which is infinite? Even more than infinite, as I explained in the first or second shir, the difference between Memale, Soivev, another two terms, and Atzmos. So this isn't just infinity, it's Atzmos Ein Sof, right? It's Atzmos Ein Sof. So this is the question. Now let's go to his answer, as he says it at the bottom of page 65. The idea is the echad min ha'inyanim b'inyan Techiyas HaMeisim amar Chazal. One of the ideas that the Chazal, that the sages say regarding the resurrection of the dead, quote, "My deloi have something that wasn't became. My dehave lekoshkein, something that was, needless to say, that it can be." This is the quote from the Chazal. And now the explanation. The Haperush, the meaning of this Chazal is Madeloi have. What does that refer to? Koye, this refers to Al Klolis Inyan Habriya, This refers to the overall idea of creation, shehi me'ayin liyesh, which is from nothing to something ex nihilo. There was a ayin, it did not exist, and Hashem made it exist as a yesh, as a being. So it was lo have, it wasn't there, Ari, and Havin it became. So we see that Hashem is able to make from naught to being. The loy have. So if Hashem can do that, let's continue inside. Kosh came, needless to say, my dahave dover, sheyochel liyas, top of the next page, 66, Pam Sheni. So he definitely can bring back something that existed, and he can bring it back a second time. If he can take something that wasn't and make it be, surely he can take something that was and bring it back. So and Vahainu, look at the next words. The Techiyas HaMeisim, the Chazal derived the concept of Techiyas HaMeisim, of the resurrection of the dead. Nilmad mibrias yesh mi'ayin. They derive that from creation ex nihilo. This is the Chazal. So that's how Chazal argue the reality of the resurrection of the dead. Uve'emes, and truthfully, Techiyas HaMeisim hi l'mayla b'madrega mibrias yesh mi'ayin. Truthfully, the experience of the resurrection of the dead is way above, is l'mayla, in level, in experience, than creation ex nihilo. Why? The bria yesh mi'ayin, for the creation of yesh mi'ayin, hu pchinas mikar chayim. It is what we've been referring to, Boaz, throughout the Maamar as the source of life. Meaning there is chayim, there is life, and there's mikar chayim, Yonason. What's the source of, there's a yesh, and the ayin, the godly force that we call ayin, creates the yesh and sustains the yesh. This means, Yoni, that the ayin already has within itself an association to the yesh. And since it has an association, we call that Shmuel Mikor Chayim. So in other words, when we say a mucker, Chassidus always bring this word a mucker. Mucker means a source. What is a mucker? A mucker means a source that by saying source, you're already saying there's an association between the source and what comes from the source. Conversely, Techiyas HaMeisim, hu mo'ir elyon dafke. Techiyas HaMeisim is a supernal energy that has no association to anything before. There's nothing in the Godhead that's a source for Techiyas HaMeisim. It's not as though Hashem has a place within himself that gives room and gives sense and reasoning to resurrection. There isn't. So let's understand. We just had a Gemara, Shmuel. The Gemara argues and says that Techiyas HaMeisim makes sense. So Shmuel, how does Chassidus say right here, what the Rebbe is saying is that it doesn't make sense? You understand my question? How do you reconcile the two?
What was the Gemara again?
My de loy have, my de have, loy koshkein. Shmuel, look at the bottom of 65. The echad min yonah min Techiyas HaMeisim Amar Razal, my de loy have. What wasn't becomes, is my de have, surely to say, loy koshkein, surely to say something that was can be again. So the Gemara, isn't that a logical argument? Yes. Yeah. So what I'm asking you is here the next few lines, the Rebbe is positioning that it's not logical. That why? Why is it not logical? Because creation, the ayin that creates the yesh, is a mokar, is already a mokar. Whereas Techiyas HaMeisim is beyond a mokar. That's what he says. So I'm asking, how do you reconcile the two? And I think the answer is, pretty clear. The answer is, the Gemara is not telling us how it happens. The Gemara tells us that it does happen. The Gemara is telling us that it does and it can happen, which we know because we believe. But what Chassidus is doing, what the Rebbe is doing here is asking, can you explain it? Can you give me the pipelines? Could you explain me how it works? I don't challenge the Chazal. I know what the Chazal say. Ani Maamar be'emunah shalema, one of the 13 principles, is Techiyas HaMeisim. But nevertheless, I have a right to ask and understand, how does it take place? Because when you think about it, it doesn't make any sense. That's how you reconcile the Chazal and what we're learning in Chassidus. When we learn Chassidus, and especially if in a Maamar of the Alter Rebbe, one of the Rebbes, or for any Chassidish Rebbe, brings a Chazal and then a piece of Kabbalah Chassidus, you have to, it's not abracadabra, it's seichel. It's godly seichel, but you have to bring it down. So that's what we're doing over here. How is it that you can access from a place that's transcendental existence? So the question is, how do we derive, how does the Gemara derive the concept of the resurrection from the creation ex nihilo? The idea is, there are two levels of light, energy, two kinds of energy. Again, two more terms. I need you to remember these terms. Oir Yoshar, the Oir Chayzer. A straightforward light, Yoni, Yashar, Oir Yoshar, the Oir Chayzer, and a rebounding light. Chayzer means to return, Chazar. I like the word rebounding light. The Oir Yoshar, a straightforward energy, Hu milmaila lemata. It comes from on high to below. And when it comes from on high, Yoinesen, there's no obstacles because Hashem is in control and Hashem gives that light and he says, boom, I want it to go into this place, into this person, into this situation. Oir Yosher. Versus the Oir Chayzer, a rebounding light, a rebounding energy, that's milmata l'mayla, from below to above. That's like lahavdil in basketball. The shot is, the guy shoots, it hits the rim of the net, it bounces back, it's a rebound, and boom, the guy's right there and he stuffs it down. Because the rebound made it possible to accomplish the stuff. If not for the rebound, it trickles around this way, around that way, it goes in, it doesn't go in. But when you have a rebound, you have a most powerful opportunity. So we call this Oir Chayzer. There's an energy of Hashem that comes from us taking the energy and it hits us, but it doesn't accomplish what it needs to because we are full of self. But all of a sudden, we use it in the right way. We through the rebound, it bounces off us. It includes our experience. Then it becomes more of a potent, healthier energy. We call that Oir Chayzer. The Zeu HaHefish says the Rebbe, this is the difference between creation ex nihilo and the resurrection of death. The Bria Yesh Mi'ayin, the creation ex nihilo, he b'derech Oir Yosher. It's a straightforward energy where Hashem says, I'm creating the world, Oir Yosher. Straightforward. And now he brings this back to the Gemara, to the Chazal, the Zeu, my Deloi have koidem shenimshach. This is the meaning. Something that did not exist pre-hamshacha, pre-drawing down, pre-being sent down. It didn't exist. Bechoza, nevertheless, have it. It exists. It becomes into existence. Why? Shenim shechor. Because the energy, Shalom, is given from on high. When Hashem gives it, it goes. No one stops it. That's Yesh Mi'ayin Yodi. That's Ex Nihilo. That's the phenomenon that takes place in creation. Conversely, Techiyas HaMeisim, the resurrection, Shehu Madahava, creation is, resurrection is referring to something that existed. The body existed, Moshe. The body was here on earth. Here, Hu B'derech Oir Chayzer, the energy that is espoused and created, and we're dealing with in Techiyas HaMeisim is a rebound energy, which is more powerful. We existed, and therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us life once. So we had an energy, right? The energy of creation. Correct? Boaz, correct? The energy of creation made us exist and makes us exist. We take that energy and we use it. That's the rebound. And it's so powerful that you hear this? This is a gewaltige Chiddush. It creates a reality for the future that it will resurrect us. The energy that we take and we rebound the energy stays with us in heaven or in the grave, wherever it is, or all over for that matter. And then at the right time, it rebounds and does something that the Or Yosher couldn't do. What does it do? It makes us alive again. And all energies of rebound return to its primordial state, which is L'mayla mebchinas Oir Yosher, which is way above Oir Yosher. Yoni, contrary to the way it works in basketball, but in Ruchnius, the Or Chayzer not only is a reflect of the backboard and the rim, but it actually triggers something much greater. The Or Chayzer, the rebound, taps in to an experience that one did not have during their lifetime. Because during their lifetime, we are created, we are sustained, we are enlivened, right? It's all fine and good. However, what's missing is the passion, the unknowable, the transcendental. Nevertheless, when we use the light, the energy, we create and we kind of store that energy for the right time, which is through Mashiach's time, Techiyas HaMeisim. Now the Rebbe gives us a different example, as we see in actuality. The power of wisdom, of creativity, better said, that has two notions. The way Chochmah reveals logic. Ha'alef, you guys look inside because it's very technical here and very detailed. Ha'alef hu gilui nekudes ha'askola, the first manner in which Chochmah reveals itself to the human mind is by revealing what's called the nekudas, the point of the logic, sheba mekoyach ha'chochmah, which comes from the soul power called Chochmah, v'nikras hamtsois sichlis. It's called the development of seichel. The hamtzah means to come up with an idea, a logical idea. Where does one... What? Yeah, come out. But Shmuel, it's before coming out, Shmuel. It's before coming out with Poyo. It's still within yourself, you come up with the idea. Where does the idea express itself? It come from this nekuda in Chochmah. From this nekuda in Chochmah does the idea, the germ of the idea, format itself. Uba b'koyach hamaskil bavroka. And this comes from the power of seichel, of intellect and logic, b'havroka. Havroka is like barak, in a lightning way, a flash. Very quick, right? Very. You think you're sitting over there, Shmuel, you have a tax problem, you're trying to figure it out, and all of a sudden, boom, I got it. That I got it. It doesn't mean yet he could put the numbers down and articulate, but first there has to be the I got it. That's what we're talking about. Beis, number 2, Gilui Haskola Habo Al Yedei Yigdia Gedoyle B'Yoser. Taking this idea and developing it with much effort and diligence. Yigia. You can have a great I got it, but if you don't spend time developing it, it doesn't go anywhere. You have to be able to spend time and exert your mind how to take the nekuda and put it into writing or formation. V'hainu d'shnei oifanim, these two methods. Hein mashaba b'derech havroka. Number 1, the flash. V'hein mashaba b'derech yigia. And number 2, the effort, right? Moshe, a flash is a flash. An inspiration is an inspiration. You go to shul, you go to shir, you get inspired, you go to a rebbe, you go to the kaisel, you go to Mars Machpelah, you get inspired. If you don't take that inspiration and work with it, it's here today and gone tomorrow. And it happens all the time. Your friend Yaakov says, hey, Yonason, you were inspired yesterday. What happened? The inspiration was there, but it left. How do you make an inspiration stay? Through Yegia, through Haravin. Yiddish, the word for Yegia is Haravanya, effort and diligence. Further, both come and are drawn from the power of seichel in the soul. So Yoni, we call this koyach, a power, hamaskil, of logic and intelligence. So that when you hear in Chassidus Baruch, when you hear the word koyach hamaskil, we're referring to the koyach hachochma within the soul, within the nefesh. Right? We're not talking about seichel golui, articulated, revealed seichel. We're talking about that place in our soul that is the source for eventual logic. What is the difference between Havroka and Yigia, the two methods mentioned earlier? The first manner of the flash, the inspiration. It's a nekuda. How does it come to you? It comes to you straightforward. In other words, you are lost in thought. You can't say that you have what to work with. You know you have an issue. You know you have a problem. You know you have a dilemma, and you just lost. And all of a sudden, it comes to you. So that manner of inspiration is yashar. It's direct to you. Look, conversely, the second method of yigia, using the seichel being yigia, shenimshich b'derech yigia, ba b'derech choyzer. It comes in a manner of a rebound. The rebound. No. Then you take the idea and you start saying, well, how could? Just like before, we learned about the difference between Techiyas HaMeisim and Yesh Mi'ayin, and I stopped and I asked you a question. That's Or Chayzer. Or Yasher means the Rebbe says in the Maamar, I listen, I hear, I understand, but do I really understand? And then you start probing and challenging and thinking. That's Or Chayzer. So the Rebbe says the same is true here. The Havraka is gewaldig, it's great, it's inspirational, but it's Yashar. Yashar lasts as long as it lasts. What's the Yagia is you take the energy and you work with it and you toil and you put effort and diligence into it. It rebounds. It's much stronger, and therefore it stays. And he says further, the nekudas haskola b'hamtzoa sichlis, the nekuda, the essential point of logic, b'hamtzoa sichlis, when you come up with the idea. Remember, hamtzoa shmul doesn't mean in this case when it goes out. It means the development of the idea. I found the idea. I think over here hamtzoa would be the finding of the idea, not the exit of the idea, not the revelation, but the finding of the idea. Before this nekuda has been drawn and revealed to him, to the person, he knew nothing about it. Nada. And it is a new revelation from its beginning to him. Before getting the idea, you didn't have it at all. The development, conversely, the development of the idea that comes through effort, the overall idea you had, right? You found the idea. It's not something new at all to you. Seemingly, one would think that the aspect of the nekuda, as it's beyond, as it is pre-revelation, is greater than the knowledge coming from the effort. Why? It's more pure. It's more pure. There's less stuff, right? Because as soon as I start taking the idea, so I start making comparisons, based on what I learned here, based on what I studied here, therefore it has to be this way. So it's a good way of studying, but nevertheless it's not as pure. Whereas the stage of the idea in the Kuda, Hamtzoa Sichlis, the first aspect, that's pure. It doesn't lend itself for our interpretation and our clarification. That's his rhetorical remark. So he says, that's why he says, Hare l'cha'ura, seemingly. Shahare b'ayidiyah b'derech nekuda hiklolis haskola, because the point of the idea, as it is in the Kuda, has all of the haskola in it. But to him, it's new completely when he gets the idea. Before the flash of inspiration of coming up with the idea, he didn't know at all that there can be this idea. That's why he said, I got it. Before he said, Moshe, I got it, he didn't even know it existed. Mashen can conversely, by idea, the yagia, the knowledge that comes from effort, he already knew the overall idea. He didn't know the particulars, and that was accomplished through his effort and study to develop and articulate the details, right? But the overall idea he had. So what would you think? Which is more pure and higher? The first aspect, not the second aspect. The second aspect is me, is I, and the first aspect is it. And the it doesn't have the stuff that comes along with my mind. Nevertheless, B'chol Zed, this is the retort to the rhetorical point. B'chol Zed, nevertheless, Hari Oniroyim, we see B'muchush, in actuality, the Gdoila Harbe Yoser, V'nailis, much greater, and a great advantage. He Hayadia B'derech Yigia Yidia B'derech Nekuda. The fact is, the Rebbe says, when it's only in Nekuda form, right? You understand? When it's only in Nekuda form, it's only on Nekuda. I got it. What did you get? I can't tell you. Oh, but your face is smiling. Wonderful. What did you get? Can't tell you. Go back to the person after he develops the idea. Not only is he smiling, he can articulate the details. So what do we see? We see that the Nekuda has been developed. Now listen to his point here. He says the reason, Shmuel, the reason why the idea, the knowledge coming from Yegia is greater than the knowledge coming from the Nekuda is because the energy, the ur, that's being siphoned into your mind at the time is a qualitative difference. This is our Yosher and this is our Chayzer. I want to make the point a little more clear. It's not because what this means, I believe, is not that the experience brings the difference, but the source of what's going on, the methodology that's being used in both ways is the difference. One is Or Yosher. In other words, the way the Nefesh relates to Nekuda is Yosher. The way the soul relates to Yegia is Chayzer. I think of the example now like this. Someone who went through life and went through hardships and experienced life, and he's already 60, 70, 80, whatever, and why do we call them advisors? Why do we look to them for giving us good counsel? You know why? Because their methodology that they will apply to the problem you present is a very different type of approach than the youngster giving advice. And what is that difference? That difference is that this individual has experienced it. He has had Yegia. There's nothing as valuable as effort, diligence, and Yegia. Those hardships that we went through throughout our life are so valuable that the person who didn't go through those hardships does not have. It doesn't mean to say I should look for hardships, but don't discount the difficulties and hardships and issues you went through in your life because they're so valuable. Why are they valuable, Ari? Because they're time-tested. They're time-tested in all areas, from business to family life. I've already tried that. And it either worked or it didn't work. And I'm giving you free advice. Don't go about it in that way. So the Rebbe says that the difference between the Ur coming from the Nefesh to the mind in Chochmah, in Yediyah of Nekuda versus the Yediyah of Yegia is a major difference between the Or Yosher and the Or Chayzer. And Shmuel, you understand why is the Yediyah of Nekuda Or Yosher? Because you didn't know it before. There's nothing here to. I don't know it. So when you get it. You're a keli. You're a keli. Fine. You receive it. It's straightforward, and you're very happy. Fine, you got a good idea. In other words, you don't put up... What?
It's the Yesh Me'ayin.
Yesh Me'ayin, exactly. You don't put up a blockage. But in Yediyah B'derech Yigiyah, you put up a blockage. Why? Because I was taught in university or in yeshiva differently. So how do I reconcile the two? Wait a minute. So in other words, you are rebounding. You are saying, hey, how does this make sense? But that experience is Or Chayzer. Let's go further. Ukaklal dechol Or Chayzer. And the Rebbe says this refers back to a general rule. And that rule being that every Or Chayzer lekadmusa yoser, it goes back to its primordial state, mikemoy hamshochas gilui Or Yosher, more so than the drawing down of the Or Yosher, the straightforward light. Someone who accustoms himself to bother his intellect, meaning to engage his intellect, and to the point where it becomes a tircha, a bother. In other words, the person is exhausted from using their mind. And to put effort into your brain. In other words, brain power, the usage of the brain. You know how much brain power we have? You know how much we can understand? But we have to use our brain. So when a person does that, lahavin kol davar seichel, top of 67. Li'amkoi u'letachlisoi, to understand every intellectual thought, every logical thought, li'amkoi, to its depth, u'letachlisoi, and to its ultimate end of what it contains, hainu. Shegam hadover hamuvin bashkofa rishoina humeyageya moichoy al zeh. Even something that is understood cursory, bashkofa rishoina. Nevertheless, he doesn't take it at face value. Guys, hashkofa rishoina means face value. He doesn't take it at face value. Rather, humeyageya moichoy al zeh. He exerts effort to understand it. He, the person, Yoni, who will exert their mind and not accept everything at face value, they will reach a deeper and better understanding more than the person who just takes it at face value. What's going on? Is Mashiach here? Seems like Mashiach is here. Let me just finish. We have 2-3 minutes. The koyach ha-chochma shebenefesh. He gam kein behamshocha amshocha. The koyach of chochma within the soul is also drawn. Rak shehi hamshocha nelemes. This is a concealed revelation. I'm not going to go into that now. It's a very difficult concept to explain in words, and I need to think about it. If I come up with the right words in the next year, tomorrow I'll explain it. We'll stop here. But what we have from this Nikud over here that we learned, yes.
Rabbi, before we finish, I think we have a few more minutes. We still have 5 minutes, no?
Go ahead.
Is it possible to give an example? I know that you mentioned that when you have the inspiration and then you want to be able to absorb this, internalize it. Can you give a tachlis example of how a person goes from that inspiration to maintaining it?
Yes. We just had a shir for 30, 40 minutes. You heard Chassidus, you heard Torah, you heard inspiration. What are you going to do after the shir? Are you going to think about it? Are you going to relearn it? Are you going to talk about it to your chavrusa? That's the way inspiration stays. Inspiration does not stay from coming into a class and saying, oh, the rabbi, the teacher, the professor gave an unbelievable lecture. What did he say? I have no idea. Do you want to know what he said? Well, could you tell me what he said in your own words? I was talking to Baruch and Hillel before the class began, and Baruch said he wants to relearn the Maamar so he can filter it through his own mind. That's the answer, the way inspiration stays. If we don't filter what we learn, what we read, what we hear, it doesn't become us. It's imposed on us. And this is something that everyone can do and should do. And it's not just in learning, but more so, as you say, you ask Moshe about inspiration. We just passed the Yom Tovim, Rosh Hashanah through Simchas Torah. Are you taking time today and tomorrow to think about what was my experience at Rosh Hashanah? In detail. And you just got to scratch your head. Wait a minute, I forgot about Rosh Hashanah. Oh, really? Well, it happened. Where were you, Rosh Hashanah? What did you think about during your davening? Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Simchas Torah. If you want inspiration to last, it needs to be with effort. Nothing good happens in life if it's not through effort. You should know a rule. And this comes from life. And the Hasidim of the third Lubavitch Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek, they had the following rule. Listen to this rule, Yoni, very simple. Anything that comes easy, I run the other way. You hear that? Anything that comes easy, I run the other way. Because it's not real. It's not valuable. If something is given to you, and then you take it, and you use it, and you work with it, and you argue with it, and you think about it, and you sleep with it, and you wake up with it, then it's valuable. Then it's precious. And I promise you, you'll be more inspired for a longer time. And that's the answer. And I'm glad you asked that question, Moshe, because that's the answer with our life. One of the things that I do, is I always try to remember things from the past and then relive them and re-experience them now. Because then it's becoming more real. It's more real, If you just saw it and heard it and were inspired, and then you're elsewhere, it's a cheap experience. Okay? It's a very, very fleeting experience. So you asked a great question, and this is the answer. And remember the short quote from the Hasidim of the Tzemach Tzedek. Anything that is easy, run far away from it. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see everyone tomorrow. Sei gesund.
Have a great day.